Okay, we are off. I am continually trying to improve the visual and audio, so we're now getting a actual podcast room set up. So hopefully, as we go forward, this is going to work better. I still have to get some help, get tech, but all good. So this is workshop number 42, June 7th, 2026, our recap. And yeah, it was a great week. I thought 27 people showed up. And in the career section, we jumped in and started talking about, starting to see some people in the local scene, some of the Austin comics who are particularly good at hustling and doing social media and doing stand-up, starting to get some brand deals and some sponsorships and hired to do services for actual businesses, which I think is really cool. It's one of those things that wasn't really available when I was coming up into stand-up. So you had to chase club money and go up and ascend the club ladder up to feature to headliner to theater act and all that kind of stuff. But now you've got a second career path, which is really cool. So, congratulations to the people who are getting those things. And we're going to talk about that more specifically in the Stand-Up Accelerator as we go forward. And it is a Stand-Up Accelerator now. I've actually changed the name and all the social media and all the places where you can go find us. So make sure that you are signed up for the Stand-Up Accelerator private group. Um, so yeah, and it's one of those things like here in Austin, so many people get pulled into being an edgelord comic, and in some ways that kind of limits you for where you're going to be able to work. Businesses can't really use an edgelord. Businesses can sometimes be snarky and a little bit edgy and a little bit controversial, like the Wendy's social media, things like that. But they have a real hard time when you might just do something so transgressive that it hurts their brand. But it's cool to see people getting things like that. So then we jumped into our theme for the week, which is our third week on negative comedy, which was roast battles to start. Our writing for roast to start, and then doing roast battles was last week. And this week we did a little mini roast battles opportunity in the workshop. I thought it was cool. In some ways, the workshop is based on such a friendly vibe that people didn't really want to get up and insult each other, even though they know it's play. A couple people did. Rock and Caleb got up, and literally at the end, it was like, well, I don't really, it's not really about writing insults because I like this person. Uh, and again, you can do that. You can like people and write still good insults in roast, but we just did a little bit of that, which is kind of fun. Then we posted, or we moved over and pivoted into non-roasting negativity. So there's a huge amount of stand-up and joke monologues for writing for TV and social media, yada, 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 that does negative comedy, attack comedy, mean, cruel comedy. 50% or more, I mean, it may be the dominant format in a lot of ways, where you're taking shots at someone, some place, something, some idea, some group. And being able to do that well is important in comedy. It's not absolutely essential, but it definitely opens up the amount of work that you can do within comedy itself. There are some people who don't like to do it. There's some people who love to do it. And in this weekend edition of the Stand-Up Accelerator, we were pushing for people who want to do that stuff. And I'm pretty good at being toxic when I want to just write jokes. I'm not particularly, I don't get a lot of charge out of just roasting people or writing negatives about people, but I do kind of like it about people in power that I don't agree with, and celebrities and people that have become villains or at least the butts of jokes in public. They're fair game. So that's what this is really about. It's basically writing negative comedy about public figures. And so we did some of that. We broke into the writing exercise where we had people go up, or people get into groups of three or four. And first of all, I just told them to pick somebody who's in the news, a public figure, a celebrity, whoever, and get up and do jokes about them. We heard some stuff about Tom Cruise, wasn't really in the news, but whatever. Michael Jackson, who is definitely not actually in the news because he's been dead for so long, but his new movie came out, so there was some legitimate reason to take shots at him. Somebody else wrote about Nate Bargatze, which was kind of off key and I think, missed the point and called him fat. He used to be chubby, but he's not chubby now. So you can't really take shots at that unless you're going to say, hey, make that the point of the joke. Again, when you're writing negatives, it's about pick a target that makes sense. And that usually means they're in the public eye right now. They've done something. Number two, pick what you're going to insult. And to do that, you break them into all their flaws, all the things about them that could potentially be negative and or are negative, and you could write about any of those. And so literally I would make a little array, a little matrix of here are all their flaws, all things they've done wrong, and I would just sort of isolate those so I know what I'm going to insult them about. And then you figure out what the insult is going to be. So pick a target, break them down about their flaws, pick what insult you want to say. And it can be just a raw, ugly, hardcore insult to start. Uh, but you got to figure out what it's going to be. And then the fourth stage is to turn it into an artful joke. And again, with negative comedy, you get a lot of leeway if you can do it artfully. So you can insult somebody right to their face if it's also got a kind of a compliment in it, a sweetness to it, or it's got so much irony in it that it's not real. But those are all the art of jokes. And so you start applying techniques until the joke is acceptable, but still hits really hard. So we played around with that. And then the second part of the exercise, somebody had written jokes about Taylor Swift, and there were a couple of good jokes in there. So I had everybody do Taylor Swift and go after her. And then thirdly, because Taylor Swift it's not easy target, but she's been in public so much that there's things that you can go after. I try to pick one that had almost nothing that people could really go after, Beyonce, because she's such a positive figure in so many ways. So a lot of people went after Jay-Z, her husband, because he's cheated on her. And yeah, again, it doesn't matter if they're a public figure, even if they're a saint, there are lots of jokes about saints, or if they're a complete villain, it's still negativity comedy. We also had some new people at the accelerator, as we usually do. Three of them who mentioned when they introduced themselves quickly, or when I asked who they were, they'd never done stand-up. And we got them all three up on stage to do something quick about insults. And so that was their first time. It was kind of fun to watch. So all that to say, we have now practiced negative comedy. You can make money with it if you get good at it. Next week, we're going to reverse. We're going to do one of our comedy techniques, and we're going to reverse the whole thing, and we're going to write positive comedy. So all positive comedy next week, all positivity, and we'll see how that feels. If that feels more natural to some people, or it feels boring or unnatural to others. And the idea here is that if you see people who do all positive comedy, like Nate Bargatze, Brian Regan, are probably the two most famous, most successful people ever. Again, Nate Bargatze sold $65 million in tickets last year. And people like to go see him. They call him clean. What they really mean is positive. He doesn't really attack things. He does a little self-deprecation. And when he even takes a zing at somebody or something, it's kind of within celebrating that thing. And sometimes I call that like celebrational comedy, that I don't insult people, I celebrate them with humor, which is an interesting way of thinking about it. But again, if you can write this stuff, then you can work pretty much anywhere. And the criteria is it's positive, but it's also still comedy club level funny. Like it can't just be, a compliment and very light without all the art and all the depth of insight and all the things that make good comedy club comedy work so well. So next week, everybody's going to bring in some type of praise, a celebration, compliment. They're going to talk about something they love, someone they love. It doesn't matter if it's in public or whatever, but we're going to write positive comedy. Once you get that, you can do corporate work real easily. You can do cruises. They don't like any controversy. Um, there's lots of other places you could do. Church work, you can do that. TV work and sponsorships. We start out by talking about sponsorships. They love clean comedy. Oh my gosh. If you're funny and loved and they can throw you into anything, that's probably the best way to make money in entertainment. So we'll come back next week and we'll hit up with a positive and we'll have a positive report about all that. I will see you then.